I used to believe that cheating was a simple, binary thing. Either someone was loyal, or they weren't. Clean lines, clear boxes, good or bad. But the reality I walked into was messier, stranger, darker, slower. It started with tiny discomforts that could be explained away, like gentle alerts from the universe that I hadn't learned how to interpret yet. My name doesn't matter in this story, because this story could be anyone's. Women like me don't have rare names. I am the reliable one. The quiet one. The supportive one. The one who believes in relationships like other people believe in religion. I had been with him for 6 years. His name was Saad. To everyone else he was attentive, warm, charming. To me he was safety, and the person I thought would build a future with me brick by intentional brick. We lived like normal couples do. Sharing grocery lists, fighting over stupid dishes, making weekend plans, rewatching the same TV shows because starting new things felt too risky. I thought that was love. I thought stability was the ultimate sign of loyalty. I didn't realize stability can also be the camouflage that hides the beginning stages of collapse. The first hairline crack in us didn't come from a dramatic moment. It came silently, the way snow covers the roof without anyone noticing the weight until the ceiling creaks. I remember the night clearly. We had pizza, like we always did. He laughed at something on his phone, and then flipped it down on the table like he didn't want me to see. It was such a tiny gesture. So tiny that calling it out would have made me look paranoid. So I didn't, but something in my chest tightened in a way I couldn't ignore. I remember thinking, I know every version of this man. Why does this one feel unfamiliar? That night I lay next to him in bed, and his breathing sounded like a foreign language. He was asleep, peaceful, unburdened, completely at ease, and I stared into the dark and whispered to myself, if he ever cheats, I swear I'll just leave. I'll never be one of those women who stays. I believed that, naively, because the real trap of infidelity doesn't begin when someone takes their clothes off for another person. The real trap begins when you start changing yourself to avoid asking questions whose answers might destroy your world. In the days that followed, everything he did started to seem like a clue, even if I couldn't decode it yet. The new cologne, the longer showers, the random, sudden kindness. The way he looked at himself in the mirror like he was auditioning for a different life. I didn't know what he was doing. I only knew he was no longer doing it for me. And that was the beginning of the end. Suspicion is not loud. It does not enter your mind like a siren. It enters like humidity. You only register it when you suddenly cannot breathe normally anymore. I kept telling myself I was imagining things. I kept telling myself he was tired, and work was heavy, and life was stressful. I weaponized rationality against my own intuition. I gaslit myself before he ever needed to. But small contradictions began forming a pattern. He would leave his phone in the car when we went inside friends' houses. He started locking the bathroom door when he showered. He changed his phone wallpaper from us at the beach to a quote about being unapologetically oneself. He said it was just something trendy online. He said his friends had the same one. He said everything with such ease. He always had an answer ready. And I started to realize that confidence is often a shield that liars become experts at using. One night we were sitting in the living room, and I asked him who he was texting so late. He smiled in this gentle, patronizing way and said, "You're overthinking again." "I'm talking to Omar about work." I nodded. I didn't argue. I pretended I believed him. But the next day, I casually asked Omar what project they were discussing. He stared at me blankly and said, "We haven't spoken in a month." Something inside me twisted so violently that I had to excuse myself and rush to the bathroom, where I stared at my own reflection like I was trying to recognize a stranger. I wasn't angry yet. I was terrified. Anger still requires certainty. Fear grows out of ambiguity. Then came the conversation that changed everything. He suddenly announced he was reconsidering his future. He said he needed space to think. He said he was feeling suffocated by the routine. He said he wanted to travel alone for a week. Not with his guy friends. Not with me. Alone. He delivered all of this with a strange calm, like it was a reasonable request. Like it wasn't a blade directly pressed against the neck of our relationship. That night I couldn't sleep. I stayed up replaying every small moment from the last month. Was this what cheating looked like before it became undeniable? Was I witnessing the transition? Was this the limbo stage right before the truth reveals its teeth? I didn't confront him. I didn't scream. I didn't ask for proof. I did something far more humiliating. I tried harder to keep him. I started dressing prettier, wearing lipstick at home, cooking his favorite meals, laughing too loudly at his unfunny jokes. I became the version of myself I used to mock in others. The desperate woman, the one who tries to compete with a ghost. That's the cruel part about infidelity. You don't feel betrayed at first. You feel replaced, and nothing wounds the human ego more savagely than realizing someone you love is no longer hungry for you. Eventually the truth stopped hiding. It walked into my life without disguise. The proof arrived in the most careless, ordinary way. One morning, his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. I wasn't intending to snoop. I wasn't hunting. I was simply making coffee. But the phone lit up, and in that split second, I saw the name, Maya Dizzy, pop across his screen. I did not know a single Maya in his life. And people do not put a star emoji next to the name of a colleague. The entire universe froze. My hands turned to ice. My heart began pounding in that ugly, irregular way only trauma can create. I didn't open the phone. I didn't need to. That one emoji was the bullet. Everything else would just be blood splatter. He walked out moments later, towel around his waist, humming. He kissed the top of my head like nothing in the world was wrong. And I felt something snap inside me. Not anger yet. Not grief. Just a sudden, insane clarity. This man was living a second life right under my roof. I spent that day in silence. He was at work, and I sat on the floor of our bedroom and let reality settle into me molecule by molecule. I realized he wasn't just lying to me, he was lying comfortably. That comfort was what broke me the most. The ease, the casualness, the way he still asked me if I needed anything from the grocery store. The way he still told me to drive safe. He wasn't conflicted, he wasn't guilty, he was simply divided. Later that week, I finally couldn't contain it. We were in bed, lights off, and I whispered, "Are you in love with someone else?" He didn't even pretend confusion. He didn't ask why I'd ask something like that. He didn't fight. He didn't defend. He didn't deny. He just exhaled like he'd been waiting for me to say it. Then he whispered back, "I don't know what I feel right now." Which is the most polite form of confession an infidel can give. It's the sentence that means, yes, but I don't want to be the one who says the word out loud. I remember staring at the dark ceiling with my chest vibrating. Because that sentence is worse than a direct admission. A direct admission at least gives you an enemy to fight. "I don't know what I feel," turns you into the friction, the obstacle, the emotional blockade. In that moment I understood something that shattered me. His excitement with her had made our entire history feel like a burden to him. I could have screamed. I could have demanded a name. I could have clawed for evidence. I did none of that. I lay there in total stillness, feeling the weight of that new truth fill the room like smoke. Because when betrayal finally becomes undeniable, you don't explode. You quietly mourn the death of the version of you that believed him. People think the hardest part of infidelity is discovering the betrayal. It isn't. The hardest part is deciding who you will become afterward. When you find out, you are forced to choose between your dignity and your attachment. And both choices hurt. Both choices demand a version of you that bleeds. In the days that followed his half-admission, I became two women. One woman was the version of me who had believed in us, who was still trying to bargain with fate, who kept replaying old memories like proof we were worth saving. The other woman was the version of me who had already started detaching, who was studying him like a case study, who was preparing for a life without him even if she didn't say it out loud. Infidelity doesn't end in one night. It unravels slowly. You stop asking about his day. He stops telling you about his plans. You begin the quiet separation long before anyone packs a suitcase. I stopped wearing the perfume he once said he loved. He stopped leaving his phone on the counter. We became two strangers sharing walls, plates, oxygen. The actual breakup came in silence. One morning, he walked into the kitchen with a strangely neutral face and said, "We need a break." I'm moving out for a while. There was no shouting, no storm, no drama, just a calm declaration like someone announcing they're going for a walk. I didn't beg him to stay. I didn't even raise my voice. I said, okay, and for the first time, I meant it. He packed quietly. He left quietly. The door closed quietly. It's unbelievable how quietly a life can end. For months, I carried the humiliation like a private illness. I didn't tell everybody. I didn't seek public revenge. I didn't become a villain. I just focused on healing the areas he had contaminated. Healing was not a grand cinematic arc. Healing was tiny, mundane tasks. Throwing away the mug he always used. Changing the bedsheets. Rearranging the living room. Making coffee with a silence that finally belonged to me. People asked me, do you still love him? And I always answered honestly, love wasn't the issue. Trust was. Love is a feeling. Trust is a structure. You can still love a person who burned your house down, but you can't live inside the ruins. Pain taught me something else too. Not all heartbreaks are villains. Some heartbreaks are rescue missions. Some heartbreaks are liberation disguised as loss. I once believed loyalty was a promise you protect at all costs. Now I know loyalty is only sacred if both people are holding it with the same set of hands. He taught me how every position hurts differently. But my leaving, that was the hurt that finally cured me. And in the end, it wasn't his betrayal that saved me. It was the moment I realized I didn't have to share myself with someone who never deserved the version of me who came home.